Hey everybody, welcome back to your Dawn of Autonomy podcast. I'm Dawn Zolai, your host, CEO of V3 Tech Consulting, and publisher at Autonomy Global. We are rounding out an incredible month that we dedicated to the theme of public safety, thanks to our sponsor for this show,
Viasat. And this month, it's been a crazy month, everybody. I can't believe we're already at the end of March. We had the Drone Responders National Conference. We did a live stream from there. Thanks to LiveU, our guest today. We're going to talk way more about that here in a minute. We have had a full crew with public safety experts. I mean, this month has been public safety all day, all the time. So check out everything, especially Autonomy Global. If you're not following our newsletter, if you're not signed up or subscribed to Autonomy Global Network on YouTube, do it now. Like, don't wait. And now today, we are so excited to end this incredible month with two wonderful guests from LiveU. We've got Alex Joyce and Jared Brody both with us today to talk about all the cool stuff they're doing, where they came from, why they're here, why they're working with public safety, and what they can do for you. So great to have you guys on the show.
Great to be here.
Thanks.
All right. So I just saw Jared a couple weeks ago in Williamsburg at the Drone Responders National Conference. I have to say, and I got to do this right now because this is awesome. They had the best swag. Check this out, everybody. LiveU Public Safety. I love this hat. I've been wearing it all the time in the gym. So I am one of those people that actually wear swag. So guys, before we talk about LiveU, which we're going to do for most of this show, let's talk about you. So I'm going to start with Jared. Jared, give us that like 30-second, if you will, elevator bio. Your background, what brings you here?
Yeah, I've been around communications going back to, I'm old enough to say back to when satellite and satellite trucks, satellite downlinks were still a real thing. That led me into a lot of work with government in particular, particularly after 9/11. That started to move into the critical nature of that type of communications platform. Led to, AT&T FirstNet, Band 14, which eventually turned into working around technologies like bonded cellular, which eventually landed me here after fast forwarding a few steps. That's sort of how there's your 30-second background.
All right. And what is your position at LiveU?
I head up the business development efforts and really with Alex and a couple of other very important folks like Petra Apostle, we are really building a small startup within a going concern and a very, very successful company in the space, but really bringing the reliability and resilience of bonded cellular, bonded WAN, really technologies to a very, very, very important place called public safety.
Awesome. Alex, same for you then. Go ahead.
So I started when I was a teenager as a nerd. My focus was on radio communications. So as a young lad, I started building antennas and power supplies and radios to communicate all over the world using amateur radio and things like that, right? So I started off really with a passion for communications. That led into supporting the Red Cross, supporting public safety events throughout my community. And then that sort of led down the path of technology. And so radio led into television, television led into broadcasting, into sports, and now into public safety. So when I look back over it, it's been really a pretty awesome ride for 37 or so years. I know I don't look that old. But it really does culminate with an understanding that complementary technologies really do cross over between all these different industries. And really, it's just an understanding of what the pain points are for whatever the industry. So what's a pain point for getting video from a Super Bowl is the same pain point for a public safety agency providing security for the attendees of that event. So same technology, very different content. And I oversee all the technology for LiveU for public safety.
Okay, I love all of that. I love that you started kind of your history and your passion really in your teenage years. I thought it was like reminding me of Steve Martin in one movie. I remember he was like, "I was born a baby." No, I'm like, oh God, how far back are you gonna go?
In the beginning,
that movie is actually one of Alex's nicknames, the Jerk.
Yes.
All right, very good. Anyway, all right. Well, Alex, you kind of alluded to it. LiveU really cut its teeth, got its bona fides across the broadcast world. And now, how did it end up focusing on public safety and critical infrastructure instead of just staying in media and sports?
Sure. No, it's a great question. So when satellite communications was really the only way to go for many, many years, the founders of LiveU said, you know what, there's got to be a better way to get all of this content from this event to the people who were watching it, right? And they were thinking about it from broadcast, right? And sports, and news, right? And so they created this phenomenal technology 20 years ago that allowed cellular technology to be bonded together. At that time, we're talking 2G, 3G, AOL dial-up effectively. So you had this idea like, okay, well, each of these connections to the cellular company is just a small connection. What if we put them all together? What if we took 5 or 6 or 7 different connections and made them into one single pipe? So
Yeah.
once they figured that out, bonded cellular, and they said we can do this with any content. And that's where, fast forward 20 years,
Yeah.
or less, they said, you know what? The same priorities for resilience, for carrier diversity, falls under the public safety and the critical infrastructure space because they have content, they have data, video, files, data sets that they need to get from one location to another, and LiveU does that really well.
Yeah, I love that. And Jared, over to you, from the business development side, what drew you into working with the police, fire, emergency management teams with this kind of technology?
Again, really, really, as I was describing, there is a need, there's a critical need, and again, having seen and gotten sort of a ground floor view of what communications, again, starting back in satellite, and the need for it really, and again, I'll go back to it after 9/11, the need for situational awareness, the need for interoperability, and the need for multi-agency or mutual aid, as might be said. And cooperation, and those things they are that important. And I think what we're seeing at this point is that realization is coming. It's coming to fruition. It was not a straight line for everybody to understand the value of what it is we're bringing. But I think that's really being seen lately.
Well, that's a great segue, I think, into what it is you actually are doing. I mean, you're talking bonded cellular, but outside of television, for people that don't know what LiveU does, how would you describe what you do for public safety agencies in particular, just in simple terms?
Sure. So sorry, Jared. No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to put it really simply, and then let you take it for a walk. At the end of the day, what we really are good at is transport, data, voice, video from the edge, from one destination to another. Lots of things work on a nice sunny day, but at the end of the day, our real value proposition is resilience and reliability, and it's in the transport piece of any of these workflows that Alex is now going to talk about.
Okay, cool. Now, a picture paints 1,000 words, Alex. So what are we looking at here?
I love pictures. I love drawings. I love workflows because I think to explain something verbally, it's sometimes hard, but when you can show a picture, it's like, oh, you get that aha moment. So this is an example, right? This is one of the most common solutions that we're asked to provide, which is a drone pilot out in the field, flying a drone, and generally the video from that camera sensor dead ends at the controller, right? And so we said, well, there's a couple different ways we can solve this. One of those ways is super simple. And again, just like we have conversations every day, when you're responding to an incident, you don't have time to think about things, right? Oh, I need to log in here, right? You need the easy button. And so this workflow is what we call the very straightforward drone workflow. You take your controller, you plug your video from your controller into a LiveU unit. The LiveU unit takes that video and it then splices it into 5 different streams, and it goes across AT&T, FirstNet, Verizon, T-Mobile, Starlink, a mesh network, a satellite connection, and it transfers that data using automated pace. So you have primary, auxiliary, contingency, emergency. It says, hey, listen, I've got 10, I got 1 meg on AT&T, I've got 500 kilobits on T-Mobile, et cetera, et cetera. And it intelligently says, I need to send that single video stream across 10 different roads. And when it gets to the end, it puts Humpty Dumpty back together into a single video stream, which can then be handed off into your real-time information center, into a tablet, into any sort of a platform that can consume and then share that video as a common operating picture across the whole team. So that workflow is probably one of the most common, and there's different ways of solving it. But the key is making sure that that very important situational awareness video that generally dead ends at the pilot's view is shared with the greater team.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, I noticed the LiveU unit is called LU-Recon 1. Now, I think I'm saying it right. And LU is LiveU.
Yeah.
Tell me the Recon 1, like what does that stand for?
So generally reconnaissance. If you look at ISR, if you look at any sort of a 3- and 4-letter acronym that we throw around all the time, and across every industry. So ISR, C2, LRT, all these different things. That's the short answer for recon. Jared has a couple other ways of describing how that name came to life, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Not today.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's for the bar.
Is that like over a beer or something? Is that
100%.
Okay.
100%.
All right. I'm going to take you
Tired
up on that. Okay. Next time I see you, I'll take you up on that. But all right, very good, very good. And for people that may not be familiar, I mean, we'll probably have a lot of public agencies watching this right now, public safety agencies watching right now. But PACE, that acronym you said, is that's something outside? Like, what is that exactly? Is that outside of LiveU, or like what is that?
That's historically it's a military term for resilient. Really, it refers to resilience, right? Again, primary, auxiliary, contingent, emergency. So, if you think about a data center. Think about a dispatch center. Horrible disaster happens, whatever, whether that's a hurricane, whether that's an earthquake, whatever it is. If your primary connection is most likely fiber, if you're smart about it, you've got redundant fiber, right? What happens when John Deere drives through the backyard and you have no more fiber? Well, maybe you fall back to a backup LTE scenario, right?
Right.
What happens when LTE goes out? You fall back to satellite. What happens when satellite goes out? You're back to your traditional MANET radios. Whatever that story or that process is. What LiveU is really doing in the background is taking all those connections and automating that historically manual process, right? We're doing it at the millisecond level. So in the background, as Alex described, as we're using all of these available connections, it's the best way to describe it. It's automated PACE. So think of it as a PACE. But this is a long-standing. This is not. We didn't make up PACE. It's a military contingency term for think about forward operating bases or what's your comms plan. And again, 2 is 1 and 1 is none type of mentality, that sort of thing.
And hope is not a plan. I say that.
Hope is never a plan.
Having been in the military and done some emergency management scenarios, like in exercises, luckily I never actually had to do a real one, like with disaster response or humanitarian aid, so anyway, all right, very good. So as you guys are talking to public, agencies, what problem are they mostly trying to solve when they start looking at IP video and live streaming in particular? Because like you said, drones are being used more and more frequently. But it's not just drones, right? It's ground robots, and of course for Coast Guard, you've got maritime vehicles. I assume this technology applies across the board, multi-domain. I assume it is also dual use for the civilian side, for like those civilian agencies, as well as, defense and public safety. But for public safety in particular, what are they trying to solve in terms of the streaming problems?
I'll hit that first. I think that the big thing is compatibility and interoperability with their existing systems.
Yeah.
And so usually the first goal that I have in a conversation is, what are you using today?
Right.
What do you want to keep using?
Right.
And where are their gaps, right? Where are their pain points? And so usually the gaps are compatibility and interoperability with disparate systems.
Yes.
And so what we usually start in our conversation as a trusted advisor for all these different agencies is to say, this platform works great. This works great. Let's be the glue in between them. let's get your UGV system talking to your command and control platform. Let's get this camera sensor that historically was stranded out on an island, literally not being part of your common operating picture, to be able to be shared right on that single pane of glass. So I think that shared technology is really the biggest value that we usually try and bring. And sometimes that means not trying to sell LiveU.
Yeah, to pull on that thread, just to enunciate what you're saying, Alex, right? It's you just the way you just described it, right? It's a drone, it's a camera, it's a sensor, it's a microwave downlink, whatever that is. The ability to agnostically put all of those sensors and that data on a single pane of glass and then redistribute it. It's the interoperability that Alex is mentioning in terms of disparate systems. The ability to take all those different feeds, because we don't really care what you plug in. As I mentioned earlier, we're reliable transport. So we don't care what the sensor is at the edge, and we don't care where the destination is. We happen to be the hub in that, hub and spoke. Think about that wheel analogy, right? That then can redistribute that video into another set of disparate systems, while at the same time allowing everybody to see the same common operating picture, see everything at the same time. Honestly, also take advantage. We work with agencies. They all, it may be different components of DHS, but they're still using different video management systems or situational awareness software, AI software. We can allow one component that has one tool set that they're heavily invested in to share that tool set with another component, still all DHS, that hasn't made that investment. And now the benefit of a particular system and software platform is now multiplied and expanded across in the event of a mutual aid or an interoperable situation. Go ahead, Alex.
And I'll just put a button on that before we go into the next area, which is the value of live and also the value of after action. So a lot of times the conversation with the Department of Transportation compared to emergency management, compared to law enforcement, they have slightly different priorities on the live side versus the after side.
Good point.
And so one of the things that we also really want to focus on is not just live video, but it's what do you do with it afterwards? And sometimes that has to do with mapping and surveying, for instance, crash analysis, taking 5, 10, 30 gigs of data from the edge in talking about photogrammetry, and the ability to take a huge data set, which normally is delayed in its ability to be shared because of the team who's doing a survey after a hurricane, for instance, crash analysis, whatever it is. They're in a location with terrible connectivity usually. And so LiveU can give up to 100 megabits per second of file upload and up to a gig a minute. So when you have those sort of tools, and again, understanding where the pain is, then it's a double, it's a 1-2 punch. You can do the live video during the flight, and then you can also upload while you're traveling from location A to location B. So by the time you get to location B, that data set is uploaded and being processed by platforms like GeneX or any sort of a analysis platform that will then make value out of that data.
I smiled at GeneX because it was Brett Gardner that introduced us actually about a year ago at Geo Week. And, I remember I was taping our live stream or our stream from that event. And you guys were like, oh, you should be doing this a lot. Like, we can do this for you. I was like, let's do it. And we are now, because like for years, I mean, this is an analogous context, right? Like, how many times have you been at an event? You're like, man, I'd really love to live stream from here, but I'm in this like metal box of a convention center with concrete and, and steel, and nothing's coming through here. Completely, comms denied in every way. Internet is horrible. And, we've been able to stream from all kinds of places because of LiveU. And so if you could do it from, the Fest House in Williamsburg, Virginia at Busch Gardens, or you can do it from CES or wherever, like you can do it anywhere. You can do it in a disaster area, in a remote forest. So, woohoo, I love LiveU, and it's made our business, it's taken us to a whole new level. And I know for public safety, it would do the same. So, Jared, I want to talk to you. Like, I want to go back kind of that live aspect, because, you mentioned, the John Deere going over and kind of cutting that fiber optics cables. Tell us, what happens when departments only rely on a single connection or traditional camera during big events or critical incidents?
So again, it comes down to that reliability phase. I'm gonna sound very repetitive throughout this interview, right?
Well, it's actually maybe it's on theme, because really you guys are about redundancy and having the backup, and so
right. And so I guess maybe to answer your question this way, you've got really two extreme environments, right? You've got contested, which is, think about that as sparse. Think southern border, Pacific Northwest, with very, very, very little connectivity. And then you've got the opposite, which is, obviously a very big topic right now, which is the World Cup, and really large scale events that we're about to experience, I think, in an exponential way.
With like a very RF cluttered environment.
Right. Yes, extremely congested. Exactly. So, and again, as Alex described earlier, where that resilience and reliability comes in, which is, again, it's how do you stay connected? So again, on a nice sunny day, even on a busy day like the Super Bowl, I've supported, with different DHS components for probably going on 11 years now. Trying to solve, like 11 years ago, we didn't have a great answer, right? What were those pace plans? What were the pace plans we were building? What were the pace plans we were experimenting with? And in comes, this different varying degrees, different companies leading up to LiveU, but this thing called bonded cellular, or bonded WAN. Again, I look at it as it's not limited to LTE, but again, that resilience is really where we shine. So if you think about contested, meaning sparse, remote areas, LiveU actually only needs about a half a meg, maybe a megabit of throughput, right? So if we've got a heartbeat on any one of 4 or 5 1-2 networks, you're not going to make a phone call, you're not going to send a text message, you're not going to be able to do anything, but your video will get out. That HD video will get out. Conversely, we've all been in these large and crowded environments, like again, a sporting event or what's going to be FIFA. When each one of us gets frustrated and hangs up the phone because our Facebook post or our text message or our phone call didn't go through, there's a teeny bit of capacity put back on whatever network we may be using. And this is where our software is very intelligent. It says, oh, look, there's a little bit of capacity put back on T-Mobile because Dawn hung up. We're not trying to send the entire stream through that little pocket, right?
Yeah.
We are sending some packets. And if we do that 1,000 times a second or 1,000 times a minute, whatever that algorithm's doing, all those packets are getting through. Even if they get lost, they're getting re-requested and getting through there. And that's again where that resilience comes in, and where we really shine.
Okay, yeah. So we're seeing some images here, Alex. I'm going to have you walk through these. I know we just had one about the bonded internet hotspot. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So it's an example, like Jared's saying, is taking capacity across a little bit of AT&T, a little Verizon, a little T-Mobile, a little FirstNet, a little Starlink, all those little slivers of data. And then when you have them all and you can bond them together into a single pipe, then you can put whatever you need through it, right? So whether it's connectivity for Skydio Cloud, or whether it's getting email and data connection on your laptop, whether it's uploading images, having that single road where it's now a useful, pipe where you can put whatever you need through it, whether it's command and control, video, data, etc. That's really the key, is to create that pipe that's big enough to get the job done.
Yeah, I saw the hotspot slide and I just had to smile again, because as Brett and I were sitting in the airport bar in Richmond, Virginia, he had his LiveU unit sitting on the bar and he was able to do his work, because it was a box. Like, I couldn't get anything on my phone. I'm like, trying to text message my husband, nothing was going through. And he's just like, oh yeah, that's why I'm using this. I'm like, he's like, I bring it everywhere.
Don't leave home without
it. So fun fact right there. But let's nerd out for a minute on the technology for those that want to get super granular. I like to do that too. Tell us about like basically how it actually worked. I know we keep saying bonded, cellular, but like how is it built? What's it built around to make all this happen?
Sure. So when you think about it, when you nerd out and you start really getting granular, when the video or the data is connected to the LiveU unit, it gets converted into digital, right? Zeros and ones, packets, right? And so when you have packets, every packet has a serial number, right? An encryption code per packet. And we're talking about so many packets, right? More than you can, the brain can process. But the goal here is, let's just say that there's, 1,000 packets per second flowing through. Well, what the LiveU does is it says, you know what? I'm going to send duplicates of those packets. I'm going to take those 1,000 packets a second, and I'm going to actually send 1,250 packets. I'm going to send packet number 1730472 twice, one down FirstNet and one down T-Mobile. And that way, as those packets are, you can make a sound effect of a whooshing noise. All those packets are flowing through all these different network connections. Sometimes they get stopped, right? They hit a wall. And so one of those packets doesn't make it to the endpoint, or it blocks a packet, and then the endpoint says, hey, send me that packet again. And so by the time it all gets to the end, all those packets are realigned, and that data is flowing through consistently, whether it's video, command and control, etc. It puts it all back together into a usable flow of traffic. Hope that's sort of the nerd level that you were hoping for.
Yeah, I think that's great. Go ahead, Jared.
I'll dumb it down for Alex just in case. That packet duplication is really important because I think we're all aware that particularly wireless networks of whichever technology we're talking about are not static. They're living, breathing things that are changing at this millisecond level. So at any given moment, T-Mobile, think about a mobile environment. You're driving 60 miles an hour down the road, whatever speed you're driving, 90 miles an hour, I don't care.
So you know how I drive.
Depending on which tower you're near at any given moment, T-Mobile may be great, and Verizon maybe crappy, right? But fast forward 3 seconds, and it's the exact opposite. It doesn't matter. So long as we're duplicating those packets and using all of the networks simultaneously, the end result doesn't care which network did or didn't perform. So I think it's really important to actually point out that when we're talking about bonded cellular, we are not picking, for example, the best network. We're not saying, hey, Verizon's really good right now. We're actually still duplicating and sending packets over the worst performing network and worst performing connection that we have. Because again, at any given moment, the worst performing connection may become the best connection.
That is a great distinction and explanation, actually. So let's talk tactical now out in the field. I mean, look, I've lived this. All right. So everybody out there, when I go to events and I do these streams, it's very stressful because I have to set everything up. I have to make sure all the guests are ready, usually by myself. I don't always have my production manager, Dahlia, with me. Mike's out there in the background, ready to.
I offered to help you last week. And
you did.
You're like, no, get out of my way.
But I got to say, I had two very simple cords between my camera unit and my little microphone and the LiveU, and I just connected them. It literally took 5 minutes or less to set up, and it went perfectly. The stream was exceptional and very well received. We're still getting people dialing into it. It's blowing up. So I got to say now, so let's talk tactical then, Jared, like on the ground, public safety in a disaster. Do either of you have the box you could just like lift up and show us in the screen, or no?
Alex has got to have it there. He's got
okay, let him look for it while Jared, you talk about this. This thing weighs, I know you've got a couple different ones, right? But like generally speaking, what? It's like 2-3 pounds maybe? Top?
Yeah, the smaller, which is referred to, as you said,
just lost Alex's view,
or the 300 that you're using. It's a little less than 2 pounds, about the size of a tissue box. And yeah, very.
Here he is. Okay, so here he's showing it to us. All right, and
Very-
that little shiny, that's like the actual screen where you can see a video happening, right?
Yep.
So basically, very straightforward. And the goal on this operationally, and like you said, Don, tactically, is that you need the fewest amount of buttons and the fewest amount of cords,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what we do is generally from the boot up to actually working, it's under a minute for it to boot up, and you're watching it in real time.
Yeah, I know.
Boot
I can
up,
see
go
the
through its
live view.
splash screen.
Yep.
And in most cases, you know, as
There you
soon as
go.
it's booted up, if I were to connect video into this, it
Yeah.
would show me the video on the screen,
Yeah.
and I can either set it to automatically start streaming,
Yep.
or I press the easy button, the play button, and it
Yeah.
starts going. Or if you're using it for a cloud service and you want it to boot up directly into internet mode,
Yeah.
you can have it do that also, and it'll boot up directly into and start generating a hotspot for whatever devices you're using.
Yeah.
All in under a minute to get to a point where you can actually be doing your tactical responsibility.
You know, Hudson Police Department, I think that's a great use case to talk about. Tell us what they did with LiveU and drones and how that's a great illustration of how this really works in the real world.
Yeah, so Officer Josh Ron over at the Hudson Police Department came to us and said, "Hey, we have some areas that are very rural. We have a very wide area to cover. This area has Verizon. This area has T-Mobile. This area has a little bit of both. What do you have that can help us?" And so we said, "Well, we have some great tech that you can use."
Yeah.
So he's a patrol-led DFR program. So
drone is first responder. Most people out there know that, but just to be clear. Yep.
And so he and his team deploy with drones in their vehicles, and they will often deploy to a safe location. Let's say it's a fire or an incident of some sort, an active incident, and from a safe point can launch their drone and begin search and rescue, overwatch, etc. So what Josh does in his application is he will get a call for service. He will respond to the rally point. He will deploy his drone connected to the LiveU and start flying the drone and sending the video from the drone to the larger group.
Yeah.
All of that in under 2 minutes.
Wow.
So that's his primary focus, is making sure that the delay is not on the technology. It's on basically how quickly you can get to a point where you are ready to deploy. And the technology is easy. That part, you press a button and you're done.
Yeah. So Jared, over to you, because as we both know, and we were all at the Drone Responders National Conference, you know, recently, you know, DFR is evolving. So it's not just the dudes with the drones in the trunk or the ones up on a rooftop. Now we're talking DFR 2.0, drone in a box solutions, you know, remote control centers. How does LiveU plug into those scenarios?
So again, I'll at the risk of repeating myself yet again, it comes down to resilience, right? So whatever the flavor is, yes, drone in a box, the docs, doc-led DFR, if that's the right way to say that.
Sure.
It's still these docks. I mean, the concept, right, is to put them in locations, strategic locations, such that the drone will respond faster than a human can, whether it's in a car or anything else. So wherever those strategic locations are, depending, you know, certainly we have lots of urban areas, but you know, many of these areas become remote. We do I live in Florida, work with a couple of very advanced, you know, some county sheriff's offices that are with FHP, you know, Florida Highway Patrol that have some very advanced programs, but a lot of the areas they're responsible for are very remote. You don't have a cable line, you don't have a fiber optic line.
Right.
And our place in DFR remains the same, whether that's patrol led or dock led. It comes down to that resilient connection or that resilience in the stream, or the situational awareness that whatever, again, whether that's remote flight deck for Skydio or other software platforms. None of those, all those things are wonderful. They're incredibly advanced technologies. If they do not have a solid connection, they're dead in the water. And that's really, again, where LiveU, again, whether that be video, data, I'll even go voice. Maybe Alex wants to talk about, have you heard of this thing called Radio Bridge? Because that's an interesting aspect that I'll give Alex a layup. But again, it still comes down to resilience and reliability, redundancy.
All right. So Alex, it looks like Jared wants you to talk about this video or the audio bridge. I'm sorry, the audio.
So when, as I mentioned before, as a lad working in radio communications, fast forward and LiveU has technology built into the platform, similar to, I'll use a 4-letter abbreviation, ROIP, Radio over IP, right?
Okay.
So any system, any LMR, any land mobile radio system,
Yep.
generally also has the ability of tying in with an IP system, right? And so the ability of creating a communications network, voice communications, is also built into LiveU, because when LiveU does broadcast and sporting events, they need to send into the IFB of the talent who's doing a stand-up, introing a court case or in front of a White House location. So that same ability to send audio in that same packetized stream as the video, as the data, allows bi-directional communications to exist from the unit, from the LiveU unit, on your phones, on the app, and then tying that together with your land mobile radio system so that you could have your drone ops tactical channel, right? And then you have a pace plan, right? Let's say the radio falls in the water and the drone pilot can just plug a headset into the LiveU and now has comms with dispatch.
Wow, that's awesome. I got to tell you, I was watching the Academy Awards, and I don't know if you guys watched that at all, but I'm just telling you, at least 3 times an hour, it blipped out. And there would be like this green line across the street. I'm just like, what? I'm like, where is LiveU? when these people need LiveU. Because I'm like, they're broadcasting to billions of people globally, and they couldn't get the stream down. And we're talking the Academy Awards, and I was thinking, this is crazy town. But transitioning back to public safety, which is really what we're here to talk about. I want to look, we know no 2 environments are the same. No 2 agencies are the same. Is there though one common thing that, as you're talking to public safety agencies, that you would want them to know? Like, in other words, how do they start without getting overwhelmed? Are there any kind of, let's just call them, big picture concepts that you'd want them to know, like as we kind of get close to ending the stream today?
Jared, you want to start?
Sure. Again, I'll repeat myself once more. At the end of the day, there are, and again, I think where the overwhelmed part in your question comes in, Dawn, right? Is there, and I'll sort of go back in my own personal history over the last sort of 10 years, being focused on the situational awareness aspect as opposed to the thing that flies. So for a good 10, not longer years, everybody's eyes, every agency, their budgets, everything were focused on this.
The drone. What's the hardware?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And eventually that saturated. The drone became an incredible tool. It is an incredible tool. It's still evolving. But it got to a point where millions and millions of dollars were spent on these things that fly, and leadership who approved that budget says, okay, well, how do I see it? And the answer was, oh, you got to come out here where you don't want to be and stand over my shoulder.
Or I have to give you a thumb drive, and like get it back.
You can't see it now, you can see it later, right?
And
so it took a good 10 years in my unfortunate experience for that question to really become a ubiquitous question, a pervasive question. And from there, you've got, again, lots of different software platforms that have streaming engines, have video built in. Again, they're great. They all do really wonderful things, but without a reliable connection, they also are fairly useless in the end, right? It also gets very complex to say, okay, well, I'll take my cradle point and a Starlink and this and that. I'll wire them all together if I have an inverter in the back of my truck, and then I can stream a video. That's not practical either. I think where we fall in, and whether it's obvious on day one or obvious, after the last disaster, a hurricane, whatever, that the call comes back, it is, again, that resilience. And again, really importantly, the easy button. What Alex was describing and showed everybody, in under a minute, one of these units can be handed off. We see it all day long. We have our best sales and marketing partners are our customers. They literally will hand off to, again, an agency that's never worked with them before, a pilot that's never,
plug this in here, press this button.
and that's it. Yeah. So there's, I'll hand it back to you, Alice.
Yeah, and again, I guess to your question, Don, what does an agency look for as far as value in this, right? 1 + 1 = 3, hopefully, right? So if they have tools in their toolkit that are good individually, they're always better together.
Yeah.
And I think that's usually the conversation that I promote with any agency that I'm working with is, first off, listen, right? Listen to what they have today. And then ideally find a way to create a force multiplier across their tool sets, right? Understand the effort they put into putting in a system in their helicopter, a system in their dispatch center, Esri platform for their GIS team, right? All of these take a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I think the ask that I guess I would have is any agency that's looking at improving this, write down their pain points, right? Write down a list of the things that suck, right? I wish that this did this. And then the goal is, with all the great people we have in our industry, know who your trusted advisors are, right? And ideally through working groups, consortiums, AJ over and Zev and TAC specialists, right? All these amazing subject matter experts who understand how to make something work better. Solicit us and say, hey, we have these platforms. We think they can be better. Let's work together and make sure that we're getting 100% out of whatever platforms and tools you have so that we can save lives.
Just because I think that's a really, really good point you brought up and very well stated. And again, as I was just telling that story a minute ago with the different pieces and parts that exist, we look at this as, again, as Alex said, let's bring a solution, whether that's LiveU or not. But oftentimes it's never a rip and replace, in my opinion. I was with an agency last week who already invested and put cradle points into their vehicles for their patrol-led DFR. The answer wasn't, oh, you don't need this anymore. The answer was, hey, turn that on and I can take advantage. I can help you take advantage of what you've already invested in and add resilience to it. So it's a very friendly and an enhancement approach rather than this is what's going to work. Nothing else will work. We're very much enhancing. So anyway, just wanted to push on that button.
No, I think that, look, in a time of constrained budgets, that's super important to be able to amplify your efforts, or as you guys called it, force multiply instead of ripping and replacing. I mean, that is really very critical, especially in today's environment, fiscally. And Alex, to your point, the whole sit down, what are your pain points? I for some reason in the last couple of weeks, I keep coming back to, I worked with General Mattis when I was at U.S. Central Command. And one thing he would, this guy, so brilliant. One thing he would always say is like, look, spend 2 months formulating your problem statement. And then you're probably going to come up with an answer in about 2 hours, because what problem are you trying to solve? And I think you guys would agree so many times, like you said, let's look at the shiny thing, or, on the tech side, let's build something cool and they will come. It's like, yeah, but like, what do people actually need? Or like, what are their problems? So I love that yours is plug and play. I love that it's resilient. It's easy to use. It's lightweight. It's hyper tactical. All of those things that public safety, that frankly, the DoD, that critical infrastructure, so many other people need. So we are about 1 minute out. I knew our time would fly. So before we close out, I want to give you guys each a chance to make brief concluding remarks, and make sure you tell people how they can reach you and learn more about LiveU. So Jared, we'll start with you and we'll end with Alex.
Thank you. I'll conclude by saying thank you, Dawn. It's a pleasure. Second time I've gotten to speak with you. I'll let Alex give the contact information and everything else. But once you have that, we're very happy to continue this conversation with anybody. We do it all day, every day. And again, as Alex said, may not be us, may not be LiveU, but we we might know a guy too, and we're happy to share that knowledge. So over to you, Alex.
Awesome.
And I'll second that and just say, we're on about 200 different text threads right now supporting agencies all over the world. So our phones are always on, except for right now when they're in Do Not Disturb. Alex J at liveu.tv, Jared B at liveu.tv. Our website is easy, liveu.tv. Call a friend, say, hey, do you know Jared? Do you know Alex? They probably have our number. Happy to have these conversations and obviously learn as we go. Because I think the force multiplier is also learning every day and making sure that you can take something and make it better. So thanks for helping to create that canvas that we can paint on.
All right. Well, in the spirit of learning, we do have your QR code here, folks. So if you want to take a minute to scan that, that will probably save you some time, keystrokes. Check that out. I want to thank you both. This was an amazing way to conclude our Public Safety Month, sponsored by Viasat on this show. So we thank Viasat. We thank everybody watching, of course. And next month, we kick off April, and an amazing month that we've dedicated to the theme of UTM and infrastructure. So, you can't do any of this. I mean, you guys are basically digital infrastructure, right? Mobile. You can't do any of this without the pipes, without the infrastructure. So more to follow on that. Airspace Link will be sponsoring that next month. So we'll see them up next. And that's all she wrote for now. Thank you, everybody. We are out here.